minutes of class, okay? All right. Okay, and then I'm going to post about the first 15 minutes or so of the lecture, so you'll have that for next week. Okay, so let me share this. Come on, Nancy. Share screen. All right, there we go. So I will tell you, you know, from the chapter 7 and 8 PowerPoint, that you will see some information on a couple of questions, 2 or 3 questions on entrepreneurship and on price discrimination. Okay, so that's what I'm going to go over with now. And then next week, I'm going to talk about market structure, competition, and externalities. And that will set you up for the quiz that you've got next Thursday. Okay, so I do want to stress this, like, you know, profits are not a guaranteed thing. Remember, there's a question on profits in today's lecture. Profits are not a guaranteed thing. You've got to be willing to take a risk to obtain a reward. Anybody that's had a business knows there's no guarantees that you're going to have accounting profits, let alone economic profits. And there's plenty of people, this is what should help you on your quiz, there's plenty of people that earn an accounting profit, that the explicit costs are all covered, but the implicit costs, when you look at opportunity costs, they can make more money keeping the money in the bank or in the stock market or keeping their current job than they would and so forth by pursuing a business enterprise. So it's tough. There's a high degree of uncertainty to make profits if you're an entrepreneur, or business owner, or, you know, starting an enterprise of yourself. Okay, these are important, critical things, you know, to understand. Okay, now, how do you go about being an entrepreneur? And you'll see a question like about entrepreneurship on the business week. Entrepreneurs, what they are, the definition, they organize and operate a business or a group of businesses. Some of them have multiple businesses, but they take on greater than normal financial risk in order to be able to do so. So they're not getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. If the business makes money, okay, they make money. If the business loses money, well, they may get themselves a draw or whatever, but they will not be around to be able to correct the rewards in the long run. And, you know, they're going to have to pay back some of that capital, you know, that they retained. May lose a house, may lose a car, may lose a lot of things in credibility. So, you know, here are the characteristics that entrepreneurs have to have. First of all, they've got to be willing to accept responsibility for the outcome of their investment. They can't blame it on mom and dad. They can't blame it on their customers. They can't blame it on their suppliers or on their investors. They hold themselves accountable for the outcome of their investment or for their willingness to make a profit. Right, Princess?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you, Princess. Okay. They offer credible guarantees to others. In other words, like, basically, people are willing to go to work for them because they believe they're going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month or whatever the agreement is and so forth. Okay, I will tell you this, the kiss of death, if you're a business person, is to miss one pay cycle with your employees or for that paycheck to bounce. I had a young lady that was a student of mine up in Syracuse, New York, and tragic situation. She had a job where she was an accounting tech for a small firm in the Syracuse area. They issued their paychecks, they bounced. How many people do you think came into work the next day? And there was no like immediate phone call from the owner like, hey, this is what happened, I'm so sorry, there was a problem with a bank draw, or, you know, I mean, basically they were going under. So, you know, credible guarantees to wage owners, to their landlords that they're renting a building from, or the forklift from, or other equipment and so forth, supplies, the resource providers that are suppliers that are giving them, you know, plant property equipment or materials and so forth to make them to produce the services and the goods that they need to. So basically, they're credible. They believe that they're going to get paid back and so forth, and that makes them want to engage in the project. This is one reason why they ask you to fill out a credit application to make sure, like, you are who you say you are. You complete a business plan and so forth, so people can see that they're buying into the organization, especially a landlord or a bank or a supplier and so forth. They're going to want to see, like, hey, what's the plan here? Okay. They're able to persuade others to allow them to control the project. So they may not run the day-to-day operations, but they're setting the vision, they're running the structure, and they're reviewing and evaluating the results to ensure that the plan is going according to plan, or adjust or adapt that plan as necessary if circumstances exchange. And then boom, if they're willing to meet all those responsibilities, then they're entitled to the residual or the profit that's left over after everybody else has been taken care of. Remember the stakeholder umbrella? After all those relationships have been satiated in that stakeholder umbrella, okay, or circle, if you will, then they can make a profit. But like, you got to make sure your bank is paid back on time. You know, the interest and principal that are due on a loan. Your shareholders are either getting capital gains or dividends or a combination of the two. Your employees are getting paid and paid on time and paid per market wages and so forth. Your suppliers are getting paid on time and or you know, they're not getting a bunch of excuses. They people are getting what they expect. Same with the landlord, the community and so forth sees the organization as viable and being able to stand the test of time, and so they're willing to basically maybe provide tax incentives or you know, support the business in terms of the customer base in the community. So all these things, if all these things are happening, then the entrepreneur is entitled to the residual profits. If they're not able to make those things happen, they may abscond with a few dollars here and there, but their business is not sustainable and they will not be along for the long run. Now, just real quickly, there's 3 ways that businesses make money. Arbitrage, okay? Basically, there's a situation like, hey, we want to buy cheap or buy low, sell high, okay? Like with capital gains that you make in investments and so forth, not just in stocks and bonds, but with real estate, okay? Commercial and residential real estate, okay? Caleb knows about that down. You add value to it. Maybe, like I have a former student of mine and so forth, instead of becoming a dentist, he went into the real estate business. A big part of his portfolio, and his dad is involved on the construction side of it, is they buy old houses that need to be refurbished, buy them cheap, fix them up, and sell them at a premium above what that initial purchase price was, plus the cost of materials and labor for the rehab and so forth. And then basically they make a premium on top of that. That's called arbitrage or speculation. There's no guarantee if the market goes south and instead of a seller's market where they have the upper hand, it's a buyer's market where you know, demand is less than supply and they have other choices. But you know, there's risk associated with arbitrage is one way to make the capital gains and so forth through stocks is one way to do that. Innovation is another way that people facilitate profits. So coming up through with breakthrough product innovations. When we think of Apple, that's been their gateway to success and so forth, and Microsoft, especially in the early age. And they're having a renaissance here with some new products they came out with. The Surface Pro is no joke. Even though I'm an Apple guy and so forth, I got to give some props to them and so forth. So innovation is one way, but then another way is imitation. So like, hey, I don't have to necessarily create the best product or a new product that revolutionizes everybody's experience. Somebody like a Tesla, like is an example of that. I can imitate, and through process innovation, basically find ways to take non-value added expense out of the product and do it cheaper. And so basically be able to do it on a lower cost basis and give people close to the same experience and save them money. Dell Computer is a prime example of that. HP is an example. Hewlett Packard and so forth. Those companies are never going to be Apple in the computer space and so forth, or even we see that in the telecom space with what Samsung and Apple have to offer with their phones versus what Nokia or some of the others have to offer. So basically, hey, I may not be able to do it better, and I may lag behind, but I can do it cheaper than the innovator can do it. So that's another way you can stake profits. Now, with a little bit of time I have left, I want to talk a little bit about price discrimination. So what is price discrimination? Well, let me get to that in a minute. Let's go here. Okay, here we go. So price discrimination, okay? It's not like, okay, because of your ethnicity or culture or religion and so forth, you pay more than another person. Some of that happens in the marketplace, but the classical definition of price discrimination does not have anything to do with discriminating on the basis of gender or anything like that. It's no boom. I'm able as a firm to separate people with less elastic demand from those with more elastic demand. So I can charge more for people that are less price sensitive or are more inelastic with demand, and less to individuals with elastic demand, okay? These are very important things and so forth like that. So basically, I'm able to differentiate price based upon different buyer profiles, good credit, age, income, etc. So let me give you some examples of this, okay? And of course, this is all new. The airline industry. Ticket prices for business versus leisure travelers, okay? Basically, business travelers have to travel in a very short window, So they're less price sensitive than a leisure traveler is. Okay, like basically, I know from personal experience what over the years when I travel for business. Okay, I know I've got to be a destination, certain destination to meet with a potential investor or with a potential future customer or a supplier, et cetera, and so forth. Like I got to get there in time for that meeting and so forth, or maybe even an employee that I'm thinking about bringing onto the team. So I got to be there at a certain time, and so basically, I'm not very price sensitive. When I'm planning my trip to Hawaii and so forth, or wherever I'm going, I've tried to do that months in advance, where I book my stay, and then like I'm trying to compete and so forth among kayak and looking at what Southwest offers versus American or Delta or Cathay Pacific or wherever I'm going. So I'm more price sensitive if I'm a leisure traveler. Make sense? So basically, businesses know that, and so they set up their schemes where their pricing schemes where they discriminate between business and leisure travelers. Here's another difference, okay? Have you ever noticed the senior citizen discounts, the kids discounts that you have, family discounts at restaurants? Different prices for lunch versus dinner. Lunch customers are more price sensitive or more price elastic than dinner customers are. So think about this. I may think about with my colleagues and so forth, going out for lunch one day and so forth, that I don't know, Mama de Salvo's or whatever, they're open for lunch. And if I know they've got the lunch special. On the other hand, if I want to do something nice with my wife at night, or my kids are in from out of town or whatever like that, I'm less price sensitive, right? I want them to have a great experience, and so I want to go along with that. Here's another thing interesting: senior citizen prices. So discounts for senior citizens. And funny, I'm getting old enough where I'm almost eligible for the senior citizen discount, but I'm holding off. But anyway, it's crazy, and I can save money anyway when that does hit. But anyway, but senior citizens, there's discounts and so forth sometimes, or senior citizen specials, because they know seniors are on fixed incomes and are more price sensitive. Colleges, this is another interesting one. Scholarships effectively allow universities to charge higher prices for those who don't get scholarships than those that don't. It's a way to set up a price discrimination scheme, okay? Grocery stores, frequent customer discounts cards. You've got your apps and so forth with Kroger and Meijer, okay, for example, and so forth. If I'm a Costco member and so forth, like the executive member, I get certain coupons and access to that I don't if I'm not an executive member, okay? Basically, they use all these customer relationship manager tools to kind of discriminate for price. Even manufacturers, they send out coupons and so forth, like Procter & Gamble. They send out coupons on Tide and whatnot to encourage people to buy, groceries and so forth, to buy their products and so forth. So you get the idea, okay? Theaters, different admission fees for students and seniors. Building material firms, different prices for consumers versus contractors, okay? Theme parks, I'm going to pay a different rate if I live in Florida for Disney and so forth, because I'm more price sensitive if I'm a Florida resident, because I can go to Disney when I leave whenever I want to, as opposed to if I'm a non-Florida resident, I'm going there just to go to Florida, just to go to Disney. They can charge me up the wazoo because I'm less price sensitive. I want that experience. So those are some examples. Last thing and so forth like this, okay? In order for this to work, you've got price discrimination to work, and people do it, businesses do it in multiple industries I've shown you. You got to be able to distinguish between buyers with low versus high price elasticity of demand. You got to prevent low-cost buyers from reselling to high-cost buyers. Okay, that's a challenge, and you got to control resentment. So this is one reason why you see, schemes where basic price discrimination is applied with senior citizens and for children, because being a former parent, I don't care if kids get a break or you students get a break on a price and so forth to go to the movies, or somebody that's a senior citizen or fixed income pays less than I do. As long as I'm getting what I consider a fair deal, I'm not good. But on the other hand, if somebody with the same profile as me was getting a better deal than I was, and I couldn't access it and they could, if I can access it through a coupon, then that's one thing. Or they paid a membership fee and I didn't, that's another thing. That's a way to control resentment. But anyway, you have to be careful of those things. So boom, those things: price discrimination and entrepreneurship. Look for that on the quiz next week. Okay, so guys, we're going to start our quiz now, and then we'll be out of Dodge. Okay, so we will start that now. Let me share.